Hello, I'm Roberto, and we are learning Rust. Here with us, like always,
Luciano, hello everyone.
hello. If you don't know this channel, in this channel we talk about Rust and technologies. You can find the recordings of the previous stream on YouTube. And if you're watching this on YouTube, we stream every day, Monday, 6 p.m. Dublin time on Twitch. Today we are going on with the infinite saga of doing the full stack bulletin Lambda. We have another piece of data to push through our step function. And if you don't know what a full stack bulletin is, let us give space to Luciano to explain us what full stack bulletin is.
Yes, super quick because we have done this already a few times, and you can check the recording of the previous episode on YouTube. So, Full Stack Bulletin is a newsletter for full stack web developers if you want to keep up with news that are relevant for the world of full stack web development. You basically can subscribe to this newsletter. It's totally free. You get a new issue every week, and an issue, let me show you an example. Like this is the previous one. I think we just got a new one. So let me get the new one. Did we?
Let's 21.8. No, it's last week.
Not yet. Okay, should come out like any minute because it literally comes out at 6 p.m. same time now. Anyway, in an issue you get like a quote at the top, then you get 7 links. Most of the time they're articles, they can be YouTube videos, they can be GitHub repositories, all stuff that should be relevant for full stack developers, and then you get a book of the week suggestion. So that's all there is. Hello, Christian Ascone, I guess. Thank you for the follow. So that's it basically. And what are we doing today, and what we've been doing for the last few streams is basically reworking some of the automation that helps us to build this newsletter. And it was originally one big monolithic Lambda, fetching data from a bunch of different places and doing all the orchestration, and eventually creating an issue, like a draft issue on MailChimp, so that we could edit that issue manually and then schedule it for being sent on the next Monday. We have been rewriting all of that as a step function. Here I can show you a preview, even if it's currently broken for reasons we'll explain in a minute. So there are a bunch of steps, and we have been using this excuse also to rewrite some of the lambdas involved in this step function in Rust. So this is originally a Node.js project, but now it's kind of an hybrid Node.js and Rust project, thanks to the fact that we are using step functions, so we can split different tasks and even use different technologies for the different tasks. Did I miss anything, Roberto?
No, I think it's fine. This hybrid approach, I like it because you can keep some of the old stuff, writing the new stuff in Rust, and just rewrite what you need.
All right. So where we left last time is we have this Lambda here. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger.
That is the one that we wrote completely in Rust.
Called fetch issue number. That what it does, it basically goes into this page here, scrapes this page, and tries to figure out what is the last issue. For instance, here the last issue is number 334, and basically reads this number here so that we can use that number as we do a +1, and this is basically the next issue number. And we can use the next issue number for a number of things. Of course, it's going to be part of the title of the newsletter, which is something that we still need to do. But also we have this kind of databases of tech quotes, tech books, and basically what we do, we take an index based on the current issue number, we do a modulo if that overflows, so that we are guaranteed to get a different resource every week. Initially, the stuff was not done properly. It was a bit manual. In some cases, we were using the week number, which is just 54, right? And now that we have a proper implementation, we
52,
can start.
But okay.
52? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't judge your ear. My ear is shorter.
Okay, my ears are probably longer, or my memory is really bad. But thank you for the correction. And yeah, basically, now that we have this number, we just can take advantage of it and use it. So what we were testing just before the stream is how the state information flows while the step function is executed. And if you've never done step functions, basically those are effectively state machines, if we want to say them like that, where you can do different things, effectively orchestrating a workflow. But for every single execution, you have an object, which is the state of that execution, and every step can modify that state, can add new properties, can change the properties, and so on. So what we are doing, we start with just this kind of structure where we can have a dry run true or false, plus we can inject any JSON. Really, this is just the standard event, and we just added a new property. Then we apply the defaults. So basically, this is just a way to make sure that we always have dry run. And then we do fetch issue number. This one will fetch the issue number by scraping that
Show
page.
the output of this guy.
So the output will become next issue. So it's enhancing the state with this was the starting point, this is the new data. And then we have a bunch of parallel things, so things that happen in parallel. And at the end of it, we have this kind of output. Now, what we did here is just changing the structure of the output, because last time we had something.
You can show an old execution.
Ooh, where it is. I can show an old execution, actually. Good idea. So if we look at the previous execution, the state here was a little bit different. So the input here was just quote, dry run, book, links, and that's it. And now what we are doing is a little bit different, because we want to keep, so we were basically losing next issue, and this is something we want to keep. So if we go here, the input contains also next issue. But the way we did this is by putting
everything is inside the config instead of that being in the root.
We want to move all basically before we were rewriting everything with data. Everything that's inside data was becoming the entire state. Now we are wrapping it into data so that we don't lose the previous existing state. I hope that makes sense, but if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat.
And the two lines that do the magic?
The two lines that do the magic are basically, we added this result path. And the way the step function works is a little bit tricky. You need to learn what are all the different patterns to map data into the state, depending on what you're doing. If you just use a result selector, which is what we were doing before, result selector basically allows you to say, map data from the current task into this structure. So we were just saying, take all the different branches. The first branch is to get the quote, map it to a property called quote. The second branch is the book, map it to a property called book, and so on. But because we were not saying anything else, what step function does by default is just takes this result and replaces the entire state. If we want to retain the original state, what we can do is use this result path property, which basically says, rather than overriding, just inject the mapping we did here into data. I hope that makes sense. And I think that works for us. We just need to make sure that now we update all the references to read the data correctly.
So we have to touch the last lambda of that step function. That is the
create issue.
That is still written in Node.
It's still written in Node.js. So now what we need to do...
search dry run, and we can start from there.
For instance, here we are still using the week number. So we will also need to replace that. But I agree. Let's start from dry run. So
that
dry
now
run
is inside the config and not in the
rather than anymore. Is event.config.dry run. And
what this function retards is not
it's not really relevant, to be honest,
because we are not using it. It's just logged in the step function execution.
just for debugging. We can leave it like that, but yeah.
Okay, also we need to use at this point event.nextissue. I don't remember.
So we have, where is it? Let me find all the references to event. Event.quote, event.book, event.links now becomes .data.
Yeah, it's true.
Data.
You also have to change it.
And .data. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then that should be enough, I guess, to create to update everything so that it keeps working. Do we want to do a deployment, or do we want to also update everything else here?
No, let's look at what we use the week number for, and if we can replace it with the issue number that we have in the event.
So week number is here, right? So basically the simplest thing we could do is change all of this to event dot what did we call it? Issue number
Go back to
next issue dot number, something like that.
Probably, but go in the step
Let's
function to be
check
sure.
here. So next issue dot number. Okay, so we can do that. Let's just do another variable, const issue number equal event dot next issue dot number, and now we just need to replace this. Now what else do we use week number for? Let's check that. We also pass it to the campaign.
We pass the week number and year to the campaign settings.
Yeah, I think because this is using the actual HTML template. So we might need to change that and also update the template in MailChimp. But let's leave it as a to-do.
Yeah, you can keep those two variables. You just change the campaign name with the progressive number. So
yeah,
let's
also pass it here, issue number. I don't think it gets used yet, but let's see.
So that create campaign is a function defined.
Let's also return campaign settings here, because this way we can see it from the output.
Even also, do you want to return it also in line 64?
Line 64, yes, why not?
No, just for consistency.
Okay. Then I don't think we use week number anywhere else. Just there. Yep. So that should be enough for this particular Lambda. But we also might want to update the fetch books and fetch quotes.
Let's go there and see what we have to change.
So if we go to fetch book, basically what we do here is we use this moment time zone to get the current week number, and we pass book of the week that week number. Now the only thing we need to do is basically to pass event.nextissue.number. Why are you doing this, Copilot? Calm down. That should do it, and at this point we can get rid of this, and we can even get rid of a dependency. So this Lambda is super simple.
So you want also to remove it from the package log?
We could also remove it from the package log, both of them. And we need to update the package log by doing function fetch. What is it called again? Fetch book. npm purun, I think it's called, which should update the package log, removing all the dependencies. And now fetch issue number is the one in Rust, fetch quote is the other one. So here we need to do basically the same. So event
next issue
dot number.
A Copilot is not learning.
It's not learning, yeah. That's annoying. We can remove moment.
In the package JSON, we can remove the dependency.
We can, oh, here we were using only moment time zone, and that did work. I always thought you needed to use both. Anyway. And now we can do cd fetch quote npm prune. And I think we are ready to deploy.
Yeah, let's see if it works.
Okay, so we do that.
Always from the root.
Some build and some deploy. So this is building all our lambdas, creating a new version of the SAM template, referencing all the built lambdas, and starting a SAM deployment. So it's uploading all the code artifacts to AWS, and then it's going to do an infrastructure as code change. So we should see a preview of the changes.
What are the best practice to use a SAM in production?
You probably will not do it manually. You probably will do like a CI CD where I guess it's up to you to define exactly what is the process. What I would prefer is you have multiple environments like dev, QA, or staging and prod, and you probably do an automated deployment up to QA.
Yeah.
Then you do some testing either manually, and then you have like an approval step. Or if you have really good end-to-end tests, you can run them on QA, and if they all pass, you can automatically deploy to production.
So there is a way to not have this prompt and just go through and deploy.
Yeah, another thing that you could do, you could generate this diff. I think there is a way by creating like a change set and post it, for instance, in a GitHub PR for review. So as part of the review, you could see, okay, this is going to be the effect if we approve this PR and deploy. Which is something that actually I've seen more with Terraform than with SAM, to be honest. But I think it is possible with SAM using change sets.
Yeah, with Terraform, you can use Atlantis and having Atlantis look at the comments of the pull request and doing action based on the comments in the pull request.
Yeah, I guess the only difference with CloudFormation, because at the end of the day, we are using CloudFormation behind the scenes. SAM is just a simplified version of CloudFormation, is that everything happens in the cloud, while in Terraform, everything happens in the machine where you're running Terraform. So when you create a change set, it's actually creating like data in the cloud that you can review later, and anyone else can see if they have access to CloudFormation. So I'm not really sure what's the process there to create a change set just for diffing reasons and then cleaning it up because you don't want people to approve that, if not through the PR, right? Through the process.
Anyway, now if we do a dry run, it's going to crash or it's going to
do a new execution with dry run through. Let's remove the comment. And let's see what happens. Fingers crossed. It did fetch the issue number, and I'm curious. Okay, the new issue has come out because now it's 336. Fetching the links. What is the output here or the input?
What is the input?
Config dry run, next issue, data. Okay, that looks good. And it did create the issue.
And what is the output of that guy?
Output is quote, and it got a quote, number 18. Book, we got a book, got links, campaign settings, reference time, blah, 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 issue number, and so on.
Nice. Now, do we want to write fetch quote or fetch book in Rust?
So fetch book might be a bit tricky, and I can explain why in a second. Fetch quote might be relatively easy.
Now let's start from the easy one then.
Okay, but by the way, I'll go into the code, the JavaScript code, just to show why I think it's one it's easier than the other. So if we go back here and we actually, let me do a commit here because I think this
Yeah,
is
we
a
are a
cool
good point. Let's
state
commit.
for a commit. Ah, and we never merge the PR.
We are still in a branch.
Well, I guess technically it makes sense to continue on this branch because this was fetch next issue number. We are also using it.
Let's commit and merge this
Yeah.
point, and then we create a new branch for the rewrite of the function in Lambda.
Uses the fetch issue number where needed. Open. Was it view?
I don't use GitHub APIs. I go to the browser like the old people.
I like to use it, but I can never remember the commands. So, oh, we never open a PR for that. We never did. Okay, so let's do that. Let me remove this one. Okay. Yeah, I guess create pull request.
Let's review the changes.
Lots of changes. So we have, let's start from the Rust one, which is this fetch issue number is basically an entire new Lambda with all its own files. Last time we wrote, we kind of made it a little bit nicer by making it more generic, writing tests for it. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, how do you write a Lambda in Rust and how do you make it a bit more testable? Check out the last couple of streams. Then fetch book, we just changed basically using the next issue number and removed unnecessary dependencies. Similarly, should be the fetch quote one. We just changed this one and removed
More or less
unnecessary
the same.
dependencies.
The state machine changed.
Then what else? Create issue, we change all the references. So next issue number, the campaign title, getting from data. We will still need to do this updating the template. I'll probably do that offline because it's just boring MailChimp stuff. And state machine, what we changed, we added a new step, fetch issue number. We
reshaped the data a little bit.
We reshaped the data a little bit, and we made sure that this fetch issue number is done before basically the parallel steps. So there was a bit of links to be updated. What's the next step, basically.
And template, what changed in template?
Template, we added the new function substitution, which is and then we added a new policy to tell the state machine that it can execute our Rust Lambda, and we added a new Lambda.
And there is the syntax to add a Rust Lambda.
Yeah, the cool things are this one. So if you use Cargo Lambda, which is what we are using to basically build our Lambdas and test them, and it's an extension to Cargo, which is the package manager for Rust, you need to tell SAM that the way you want to build that particular Lambda function is through Cargo Lambda. And this is a beta feature yet, so there is a setting that you can change. I think we will see that in a second. Or not.
And interesting is the runtime for this.
Yeah, and then the runtime is provided AL2, which is Amazon Linux 2. And this basically means you are providing your own custom runtime, which is not, I mean, it is true from the perspective of the way Lambda works, but then we are not building our own runtime from scratch because we are using a crate provided by AWS, which implements the kind of canonical version of the Rust runtime for AWS. So it's more that they don't really give you like a ready-made runtime that you can select in the Lambda console. You build your own runtime together with your own code using the runtime library.
Yeah, in the same executable.
Exactly. At the end of the day, you have, rather than having two executable, one for the runtime and one for your own Lambda code, you have everything bundled together in one executable.
Okay, you can merge.
Great review. Thank you. I'll take that as an approval. Auto approve.
Thumbs up.
Approved
Thumbs up from me.
live by Roberto.
What can go wrong?
Okay, squash and merge. Cool. For this one, we don't have CI/CD, so we have already deployed all the changes. Let's switch.
You are the CI/CD.
Yeah, my shitty typing on a shell is the CI/CD.
Go to main.
Is it main or master in this repo?
Oh,
I think it's still master
not
because this is a very old one.
Master? Oh God, we are so old.
Yeah, master of puppets.
Master.
Cool. Okay, now we can do a new branch.
Then this is to rewrite in Rust. Fetch. What you say that is the
fetch
one?
quotes.
Okay.
In Rust. Very verbose branch name.
So now why fetch quote is simpler than fetch book?
Okay, so I'll show you how crappy this is, but it works, so why not?
Crappy burger.
So fetch quote, if we go and look at this, what it's doing is this magic. Tech quote of the week and a number there.
That is a dependency, right? The tech quote of the week.
So this is a dependency. So what is this doing? If we go here, is basically just importing a huge JSON and then is effectively checking in that huge JSON, like based on the length of an array where you have all the quotes, is going to take the number n modulo whatever is the length of that array, right? So
okay, it's called a weak number, but in reality now it's just an integer.
Yeah, it could, now here it was just doing a default, which to be fair we never used, so I don't know, a bit superfluous. Actually brings an unnecessary dependency, so probably I wouldn't have done this way now, but that's the way I did like 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, code that old, you are excused to have done everything.
Yeah, so exactly. So that's it.
We
basically
still want to look and use that data quotes JSON, or we want to take
this
the
is
quotes
basically
from
where
somewhere else.
we have all the data, right? Today. Now I did spend a bit of time, and I can open this repository, I think, into another repository called tech quotes. And this is an interesting idea that I've been playing with lately, that rather than doing a JSON file that you have to embed and parse it, and like, why don't you just do like an API that you can call it from everywhere, from any language? Yes, it's an HTTP request, but makes it a little bit more decoupled. So that's kind of the trade-off. Rather than having all the data in place, you just do an HTTP request when you need the data. So the idea here is that I kind of made all this process rather than a library, so that we do a build time, and then I generate a bunch of JSONs that are published as a GitHub pages. And that kind of gives me a static API. It's like a static website for APIs, if that makes sense. So at the end of the day, what we can do is just do this curl, and we get all the quotes.
And we get the total of the quotes.
Sorry, we get
then
the
we
stats,
take our number, we modulo by the total, and then we can call
by ID.
By ID the total. Okay, so there are two calls: one to get the totals and one to get the quote.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay,
so we can
easy enough.
Should be easy enough. And what we can do is we can bootstrap a new Lambda, pretty much copy most of the code from the fetch next issue.
Yeah.
With the difference that rather than doing scraping on HTML, we just use
here we have a JSON, so probably we can just use sers and parse it. Okay. And we just need the number that is a string.
We need a number.
No, it's a number. Okay, so yeah. And inside in the quote, what is the body? Is that one?
This is if you want to get all of them, but if you get just one, for instance, this one is 17, you get something like this. ID, text, author, blah, blah, blah.
Okay. And is this schema the same of the current one?
I think it is, but if not, we can easily
I thought
reshape
it would just crash.
It will just crash, or we just reshape it to look like the old one as a short-term solution. Then maybe if it makes sense to change it, we can change it.
Okay, so we can start throwing the old Lambda in the bin.
We can start. Let's keep it. We can just do a other Lambda, or while we were in a branch, let's throw it in the bin, I guess.
I mean, you can always go back to master and look at it.
Exactly. The joys of Git. So rm. Actually, you know what we could do? We could do rm.functions fetch
What?
and everything, right? So we keep the folder. Then we go. Oh, I forgot to do
Not modules.
Okay. Now we can go there, functions fetch quote, and we can do cargo lambda init. And this is not an HTTP function, so we can say no. And here it kind of forces us to pick an event. To be honest, we can pick anything, and
Yeah, because we changed it manually last
we
time.
can change it to our custom one. Let's pick
to a generic JSON object, because there is no for our step input, because it's completely custom.
Exactly. So now, because the VS Code is a bit picky, we'll need to open this particular folder to work there. So
keep the other Lambda as a reference, just the
yes.
other Rust Lambda, because I don't remember everything.
We'll do it in a second, but I think for now we can just start by cleaning up.
Yeah, there in line 4, Lambda event, instead of being S3, it is
exactly. It is. We'll need to install Serdi, which we don't have yet. So we need to do cargo add Serdi and Serdi JSON. Now, do we need anything from these features? Serdi JSON, don't think so. I think the default is fine.
What we were using to get stuff, request.
We might need this Serdi derive or this derive. Yeah, we were also using request, cargo add request. And
we don't need scraper because we have JSONs.
I think we'll need to do this if we want the JSON. Cool. Okay. And that should be, yeah, I think here we need to add something, version, and we need to add features derive. There we go. Now, I think we can remove this one entirely because we're going to be using our own
we
custom.
don't need, you can make the features empty, but I think we need the Lambda event itself because it's wrapping, no?
But I think that Lambda event, let me make sure. Yeah, you're
Lambda event, and in the body of it.
Yeah, you're right. It comes from this guy.
Yeah.
So let's make the feature list empty.
You can make the feature list empty, but you have to keep the Lambda event itself.
Good point. So now we should complain that this.
Wrapper.
Yeah, exactly. That this S3 event cannot be found once here finish spinning.
when clip is happy.
Okay, so S3 is like, where is? Oh, look at this. There was an issue there. So Lambda runtime is the one providing Lambda event. So we can get rid of that dependency entirely.
Well, where is Lambda runtime coming from then?
Lambda runtime should be somewhere there in our
okay, yes. So then you can get rid of that completely. I thought the event was coming from AWS events.
Me too. It's just there was everything in one line for some reason.
Yeah, so
didn't format properly. Okay, so now here we can do a few things. I guess that the crappiest one is just to do Serdi JSON value. And the result is also a serdi JSON value.
And then you have to import serdi JSON.
And then we can do serdi JSON, for instance, something like this. Why is not happy? Did I miss a parenthesis? Yes.
Do you have also to import serdi JSON?
If we are explicitly
no, we are explicitly
using the namespace,
okay.
no.
Okay.
To be fair, we could do it serdi JSON and value. Then we can just say this. Now
that is complaining that
is not satisfied. Serialize is not satisfied. Why is not serializable?
What we did in the other Rust Lambda, sorry.
I think that's what we did. Let's double check.
Oh, let's take a look.
So in fetch issue number, source, main, we did set the JSON value and set the JSON value. That's it.
And then we return okay, JSON and something.
Yes, I don't see the difference. Let me see if in the dependencies we are using different features. Oh, here we were still just using S3, so we could probably remove this one as well.
Yeah. Rust TLS, but that is for...
Oh yeah, this is something we might need, because otherwise it's going to try to embed the operative system TLS, and I had problems with that, so we probably want to do this as well. So serdi JSON and serdi, we didn't use any feature. Okay, so probably that's the issue, that I'm using features and messing up stuff. So let's change that. Let's use
derive.
Let's do this.
Yeah, remove derive.
And in request, what we want to do is to add, is it called?
TLS.
Wait. Plus TLS.
Okay, let's see if cargo.
Okay, why is it complaining?
Still complaining, Rust Analyzer?
It's still building.
Okay.
It's gonna build until the end of time. Okay, are you happy now? No. Why?
It's not able to serialize event. Try to remove the line 9.
Line 9. Oh yeah, you're right.
It doesn't know how to serialize a Lambda event.
If we say hello, yeah, that makes sense. So it would have worked even before.
Yeah, but because it doesn't know how to serialize a Lambda event, you have to do event.value probably there. Try to do event.value to see if he's happier, because in theory he should be able to serialize a...
Well, event you need to do
body value. What is the
body? Is it body? Why is not autocomplete?
I don't remember what is the content of it.
Lambda event payload.
No, payload, yeah.
And then the problem is that we have a generic JSON that we need to deal with.
No, but I don't think it's a problem, no?
It's not a problem, it's not fun. We can do something different. So because we know what's going to be the structure, so for now let's just do an empty JSON.
So let's create a structure that is
exactly. So what we can
mapping
do
our
is
input and our output.
Request, which is going to be, we only need that one field, right? That we expect to use, which is in fetch quote. The only thing we care about is this next
issue number.
Yeah. So we can read this one only if we want to.
So we are just reading a struct with a number in it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because we will use input to map that one to our event.
So we want to do next issue.
But
And this one, unfortunately, we need to do another type.
But we need the next issue, because can't we just do that in the state machine definition, in the parameters, YAML parameter?
I guess we could.
Okay, let's do another. Let's make a number long. Oh my God, what is that?
I don't want to know. Okay, so this is a next issue.
Can you call the variable as that class?
I guess so. I mean, it complains that it needs to be snake case, but we can fix that with Serdi. So now what we want to do is derive the serialize. And now we need to import it, of course. Use Serdi deserialize. Now it's going to complain that also this one needs to be deserializable. Okay, and there is a way to kind of rename this guy to something else. So something like next issue.
In Rust it will be next issue, but when you serialize it, yeah, with capital N.
That's the one.
Okay. Now it's complaining
that we are never using this field.
Okay, then we can declare that is a Lambda end of request.
And if we pass the wrong thing, it will fail.
Okay. And you also want an object for the output?
We want an object for the output, I guess we could.
Or we give back what come back from request straight away.
Let's see what's the output here, because I don't remember. It's quote, ID, text, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, let's do that. Why not? Let's be explicit. So if I do all of this, basically what we want to do is struct
quote
response, which is, or we call it quote, yeah, probably better.
We can just go straight with quote.
ID, I32, text, string, author, string, author description.
Yeah, with then we have to do a rename. Why URL?
I don't know.
Because it's in line 23, so it just got
to the URL. Yeah, and are you smart enough now? Yes, nice. And we also want to do the derive. In this case, we want to derive serialize.
Serialize, because we
which we need to import. Okay. I guess we can also implement deserialize, so we can check. We can take that response, deserialize it into this, which is also kind of a validation.
It has the same schema?
I think so. Let's double check that. Might not be exactly the same, but let's see. Let's check the API there. So, slightly different.
It's a little bit different.
Okay. Does it make more sense? What do you think? Does it make more sense to support this structure and then change it in the other lambdas?
Not now. Let's try to do a one-to-one replacement for now.
Okay, so do we want to do like an input quote type and then map it from one
to the output quote type?
Yeah.
Can't we take request and just cherry pick the values in the quote class structure?
You can do like a JSON value, a generic JSON value, but the problem with JSON value is that every field you read, you need to say, try to see if this field exists.
Okay, let's make an input
read
quote.
This field as a string. Unwrap.
Make an input quote, and we need an input also for the call to get the total.
For the call to get.
If you scroll up.
Yes. Yeah, we'll need to do that as well. Okay.
So yeah, we have two input.
Oops, wrong one. I'm starting to wonder if we need to do another sub crate, like, I don't know, data. What can we call it? Model.
Input data, fetcher.
Models.rs, just to put all the structs in one
Okay.
place. And we want to do models. And I'm just gonna do this for now very quickly.
You are also going to move the other ones.
And I'm gonna move the other ones.
And the uses you have to move to.
Yes. Now they all need to be public. And also, do all the properties need to be public?
Oh, let's wait for it to complain.
Okay, and now we need to import this guy, move it there. Okay, so now we want to do pub.
An input quote, and probably we need also author as a struct. Yeah, it was already suggesting author. My God, so smart.
Let's go with author then first. Pub struct. Oh, why
It's
you
not
don't
smart.
suggest this anymore?
It's not smart anymore. It was smart for a moment. Then he had
Okay,
this
wait.
part.
ID name description wiki URLs. Sounds good.
Was good. He had this spark of smartness. Then the spark.
Derive.
We are just deserializing here.
Yeah. That should be enough.
And the input quote again, we are just deserializing it.
So ID text on, do your magic.
Author,
yeah, and URL. Nice.
Cool. Then we need also the struct for the main call to get the total.
Yes. Let's call it pub struct stats.
Because it was called stats JSON, right?
I think so. Which is this guy.
Okay. If you add a comment, is Copilot smart enough to suggest you
Let's
the fields?
figure it out.
Or is dumb like a brick?
Total iter2.
No.
All
fine.
string, first string, last string, URL prefix. It's also fixing that, but we'll need to do the rename stuff.
Mm-hmm. You should have probably added to this, just a comment on the API, a template to get the values. I mean, if in that stats JSON you add a template URL or call it as you want.
Oh, right. I'm just adding like a prefix rather than a template. So you mean something like slash column?
Yeah,
whatever.
slash an integer.json instead of URL prefix. You can just do a string replacement of the number in there, and you. Now we will concatenate that with a number with .json, but we know that is .json because we know it. It's not that is the API that is telling you what to do.
Good suggestion, yeah. That could
well, not for this iteration.
Could be a feature in the future.
Yeah, this was just a suggestion for.
Okay, so now we have all these beautiful models.
Okay, let's try to.
I think all of that needs to be public, but otherwise we cannot read. So let's do this magic.
God, what are you doing? Multi-magic.
And one cool thing that we could do is implement. Look at that. That's what I wanted to do. From input quote for quote.
To switch, to map the input quote to the output quote.
Yeah.
Oh God. And why stopping there at text?
Because it didn't believe too much in itself. I think it was a good starting point. So
what are the other fields of quote? I don't remember. It's up there. So author will be
text.
Yeah, author will be input.author.name.
Yeah, yes. Perfect. Then author description, input.author.description, author URL. There we go.
Done.
And what else?
Do we need another closed curly bracket? Yeah, I think is everything.
That's all.
So with this, what can we do? A try into, an into?
Into. So we can just take the input quote and do dot into, and we get a quote.
Nice. Do we have to turbo fish or to annotate the type?
You can turbo fish, but with from and into is always a bit tricky. I can never
So
remember the
let's
right
declare the
syntax.
variable
It's
as
very
quote.
easy with the type in a variable. Okay, so now we have request, which we didn't import, so we'll need to import qualify request as models.request. Why didn't
Is with mod you're not importing basically everything from there?
No, mod is just the way I like to think about this. I don't know if it's totally accurate. It's like you are copy pasting all the code, but the code gets wrapped into like module models.
Okay.
So then you need to explicitly pick
So
stuff.
there is a way to avoid the models : request and using just
which
request.
is use models request.
But after you also need mod.
You still need to do the mod because mod means it's literally like an include this file in here.
Okay.
But I
It's
don't know if
just
it's
a little bit ugly, but
yeah, exactly. Anyway, so now we can do the first request, right? So we can do stats, I guess.
Is request and is giving us a stats object. Yes.
I'm curious if we do this, if it's gonna okay, it did automatically import.
Why wanted to query is KCD? I don't know if you saw Copilot that proposed.
I didn't see it, but also here is not making a lot of sense. So what we want to do is request get and the URL. Oh, look at that. Not what we want. But again, everything else we want to do that, right?
Yeah, but the URL is not the right
URL
one.
is this one. And this could be another, like we could have a base URL as an environment variable, but we can leave that for later.
Leave it there.
Just if we want to make it a bit more testable.
We need to import request.
Request, why is not finding it? Expected value create. Did we need to create an explicit client? I don't remember that.
Go in the other number.
Sure. Request colon get URL. And did I think
Copilot.
I didn't. No, this is probably my fault.
No, I think it was Copilot. But...
Okay, now it's complaining about JSON because I think it requires flag to have JSON. Oh, we did set the JSON. Is there another one? It's called JSON.
You are throwing random stuff.
Well, it did work.
So nice.
Okay, so now we have stats, and now we should be able to say stats.something. First, last, total. The total is what we want, right?
Yeah. Modulo. So is our event dot
index event dot
payload
dot
next
issue dot number
modulo stats total. Yeah, and that is the index that we want to fetch.
So let quote URL equal to
seems fine.
It's also understanding stats URL prefix. Look at that.
Yeah.
But the prefix, does it have the slash? Yes or not? I don't remember that. It doesn't, so we need to add a slash. So we need to add a slash there, then number, then JSON. And now we do another get. Let input quote equal all of that. So request get quote URL await JSON. I don't think we need this turbofish there. Await.
Declare the type of input quote.
Oh, that's why I didn't. It was the autocomplete. Okay. And now we just need to do let output quote. If I can type quote at into, and we return output quote. And this one is an output. It's just a quote. That should be it. Do we just go crazy and deploy and test it live? Or?
Yeah, do it. Can we test the Lambda in isolation?
Actually, we can with cargo Lambda. Let's do that. It's an interesting exercise. So if we split here horizontally, what we can do is cargo Lambda watch. It should start a local server.
Mm-hmm. But it's not a native Lambda, our Lambda. How can you... there is cargo Lambda invoke?
Yes, so there is cargo Lambda invoke, and we can pass the data.
We can pass the object that should be next issue with inside a number and a number.
Another object with number
10
and a number 22. You like 22?
Yeah, go.
Compiling forever.
Rust compiling. For this reason was pointing to XKCD. He wanted the comic with the two people fighting on the wheel of chairs. Compiling.
Copilot has a good sense of humor, yeah, probably.
Yeah, more sense of humor than me.
Ooh, it did blow up.
Okay.
Error decoding the response body. Missing field wiki. A line 9, column 3.
Wiki is your friend.
Right, that's a good point. I'm glad that we got a quote without the wiki, because what we did wrong is that
but in the input quote is the problem.
It's in the input quote. Where is it?
Somewhere.
Input quote there.
There is an optional wiki parameter.
In the author is not wiki just as a string, is option wiki. So this could have been a dangerous.
But well, when we don't do the map, we don't do the mapping of that field, right? In our
we do, so
no, we don't use wiki here, so we don't have to unwrap anything.
What is URL then? Oh yeah, this is wrong. What we want to link there is the wiki. So auto URL is also an optional. And we want to map the wiki. Because this is what we are doing today in the current implementation.
The author has a wiki parameter?
Yes.
Where?
There.
We just created it. Okay, sorry.
No, we did have it, but it was just a string, and it's optional instead. Like, let me show you here. This wiki here is not always present. Sometimes.
The URL is the URL of the object itself.
Yes, like if you want to get all the quotes for that author, basically.
Okay, cool. It's very restful.
Not very, but I try to make it a bit restful. Okay, so that should
Let's
do
try
it.
to invoke again. It has to
Yeah.
recompile. No, the watch.
No, the cool thing is that it's watching and it's already recompiled, so we can
Okay,
rerun.
nice.
Nice. So now it's doing that. Actually, we can even
Change number so we see
we
if
can
we
even
can
be
find.
fancy and do this with JQ.
Try to
Now
change
auto
number.
URL is null, basically. If we change to 17,
Okay, now auto URL is something, and is the Wikipedia.
and if we
thing.
change it to a big number,
Is wrapping around.
let's try another one
What happened with a negative number?
with a negative.
I
Good
mean, it's
question.
never going to happen, but
It's an easy way to make it explode.
yeah, it's never going to happen. It will never. It's just not super resilient. Sorry, it's the QA in me that. What if you put an emoticon in there? What if you put a beer?
Let's put an emoticon.
A QA engineer entering a bar and it orders -1 beer.
Oh, look at that. Failed to deserialize incoming data into the function's payload type.
That is correct. It's not a valid JSON.
Yeah. I mean, is it?
No, you
Oh, yeah, I should have put the quotes.
You want a valid JSON, but then the mapping with the types of shared will probably tell you, look, this is not a number.
Expected I32 was a string.
Reasonable. Is handling the error properly.
And to be fair, based on your point, what we could do is replace this I32 with U32, right? Because it shouldn't be negative ever. And the same for this one. And the same with the total. Where is it?
The input quote, there is another I32, and then issue number again is a U32. And the total, I think you already did it.
The total there, yes. So let's rerun this. One with minus, and now it should give us fail to blah 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 because I was looking for a U32 and I got a negative number.
So now is handled a little bit better because of the typing.
Okay, now before we can deploy this, what we need to do is we need to change a little bit the configuration of this Lambda in the template, right? Because we need to
now it needs to be no more a node Lambda, but it should be a Rust Lambda.
So this is the fetch
quote. It was there.
Yeah, so we can probably copy this guy.
The code URI stays the same. You have to add the metadata.
Yeah, let's copy bit by bit. So the metadata now is this one. Thank you, dear YAML.
You have to change handler, runtime, and nothing else. Handler and runtime.
I wonder, we could probably change the architecture to use ARM, but whatever.
To use what?
ARM, ARM.
ARM. Okay, sorry.
So we just need to change this one, right? Handler and runtime.
Now, also the handler in line 99 should be removed.
Yes. Now
it's complaining. Oh, no, okay, fine.
Random complaints. Should we deploy?
I don't know. Can you change the architecture to ARM? Can you do that?
You could. Let's do a deployment first and then.
Yeah, let's try first, then try to break everything.
Okay, so if we go back here, I guess we can stop this test. Some build and some deploy. Chat has been very quiet. This is the time to ask for random questions.
Everybody is sleeping. We can convert the YouTube channel in one of those channels for people to sleep, like sleep with Rust.
That could be a great idea.
Rain.
Oh, build failed. What happened there?
Nice. It was running up to 5 minutes ago.
I think we had this issue the first time with OpenSSL. Didn't we change? Yes, I understand what we did wrong. So we need to disable the default features. Oh, we did. Oh no, we didn't do it there. We did it somewhere else. We need to do it here. Now is this gonna break something else? I don't know.
I'll try to do it again and we'll see.
It's compiling, so let's wait for this to finish.
You don't want to run two compiles at the same time?
Not complaining. I think that there is actually a lock on something when you do that.
How is everyone is asking Pando, and the answer is sleeping. We need to put some white noise in the background, sound of rain.
By the way, meanwhile, yeah, we should do that. I think we just need to do this, basically, if we want to switch to ARM64.
We can try after this.
Yeah, that should be a little bit faster.
But it should recompile everything. Is installing the compile chain automatically? How is working? Because
one of the promises of Cargo Lambda is that it takes care of all of that. So hopefully, yes.
Let's see if it's true.
Okay.
Oh, it's uploading everything. New artifacts.
Cools. It's creating the change set.
That's gone. Modify.
Looks reasonable.
Yeah, because it's not. In theory, it's getting rid of the old Lambda, but for a Lambda, when you change version, is not a new Lambda. It's just a. If you change language, it's just a modify.
The ARN of the Lambda is the same, basically. Yeah. It's just the version modifier. Okay, deployed. So, are we brave enough to test it?
With a try, yes.
New execution.
What is that?
That's not the input I expected, to be honest.
No.
Why is this weird input?
Are you running the right stuff? Sorry.
Yeah, am I running the right Lambda? Create issue state machine. That's weird. Let me refresh. New execution. I think something went wrong in AWS.
We are looking at the payload of somebody else.
Hopefully not. Okay, fetch quote finished already, which is promising. ID 149. All programming languages are but the good ones fertilize your mind. Very, very polite quote. And it doesn't have an author URL, so that's good. Okay, everything seems to work. Let's try that ARM thing.
Yeah,
and then we can probably call it a day. So I'm looking somewhere, and it's just saying that you need to do ARM.
Are you changing that to all the Lambdas or just?
No, just the Rust ones, because the other ones I'm not sure. I think they could work as well, but I'm not too sure.
And if they have a runtime that is supported by the architecture. Here we are compiling.
And then if you're using any native dependency, you need to make sure that
That they
it is
exist for
packaged
ARM
correctly.
and so on.
But I don't think we are using any native
But well,
dependencies.
let's just change the Rust one and see.
Sorry, there. Let's deploy again. Now we should say in the build phase that is building.
For x86.
Wait, no, wait. This is the Node.js one.
Okay. Fetch links.
Cargo Lambda ARM64. That's correct.
So you think now it's taking forever to compile because you never compiled anything for that platform?
Probably.
Now we need a mini game like the Chrome one with the dinosaur jumping. Can you play games through the chat?
You definitely can. I've seen some streamers doing all that fancy stuff, but we are not prepared for it. So sorry. If you get bored, feel free to ask questions, even
we have to
not related to Rust.
We have to do stuff like those games for kids, do you know? Where there are math expression coming down, and you have to write the result before it hits the bottom of the screen. And we can do that integrated with the chat. So, and then we see which one in the chat is the fastest one and is getting more points.
I like it. That could be an idea for the next stream.
Yeah, for when Rust is compiling.
No, building this game, I mean, as an idea for more streams.
Oh, yeah, also.
We can maybe resurrect Baby.
Your CPU, okay, there.
It's burning. It was like 90%. So I hope we were not losing too many frames.
You are warming up the dinner with the laptop.
Exactly. Okay, now we say yes. Come on.
Come on. Pop, pop.
I want to say yes. Change set to be created. Okay, it's changing the two lambdas in the state machine because there is a new reference. Is that yes gonna work?
I hope so for you.
It did work.
Are they billed differently in AWS if you use Intel or ARM?
It is a bit cheaper, I think, the pricing. And it could be a bit faster from what I heard, that when you combine Rust for ARM, depending what you do probably, but for most use cases, it is a little bit faster. So that makes it even cheaper probably. Oh, we have Oli Full. Stream is good from the USA. Yeah, thank you for confirming that. Okay, so let's be brave and try again. New execution. This time is working, so AWS did something there.
Yeah. The fetch issue number worked. Fetch quote is incredibly fast. Can we know the execution time of this Lambda?
I guess. I mean, there are timers there.
48, 857,
yeah,
49,
less than 1 second.
476, yeah.
We could go to the Lambda invocation and check the timing there. If we go to monitor logs, there should be a log line there for the last invocation. So which one was it?
The one at 1914, 1921, no. 1809 because in UTC is UTC. No,
so
it's not too much.
It did bill 600 milliseconds, which is a lot more than the others.
Yeah, the other one were 39 for. Try to run it again to see if it was just a
cold starting.
Cold start of the new, like fetching it from S3 or bullshit like that.
But even 600 milliseconds is a lot for a cold start. Wait, did I do the fetch issue number or the fetch quote?
I saw fetch quote. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Oh, well, they are in Rust anyway.
but it's probably a network thing. Fetch quote. Let's try. Let's
Oh,
refresh.
yeah, it's true.
Refresh this guy. We should have one more. Why not? Come on. Give me one more execution.
No.
Probably it's the same log stream. Let's go there.
Yeah, I hate this stuff of AWS. This
Report.
seems only one.
Only one report. Interesting.
It changed the
1913. There it is. It just takes a little bit of time. Okay, this time was 94. I think it's just because it's doing two different HTTP calls.
Yeah, so
it
it's
might
just
be a bit
randomness
unpredictable.
because of the network.
Because I've seen if you do pure computation lambdas in Rust, the warm-up time is like in the order of 20 milliseconds max.
Mm-hmm.
So if your computation is fast, it's generally like in less than 100 milliseconds, which is very convenient because if you do something in Node.js, you might invest 100 milliseconds just in the cold start.
Cool. We call it a day.
I think let's call it a day because
Okay, let's
we have
wrap it
been
up.
doing 1 hour and a half today. So
Yeah.
to you, Roberto,
You can find the recording on YouTube. The link is on Twitch in the About section. If you're watching this on YouTube, we do live streaming on Twitch every Monday at 6 p.m. Dublin time. Make sure to check the Twitch link in the YouTube description and give us a follow so that you can be notified. Subscribe to the channel and so on. Feel free to leave comment, open pull requests. Everything is well accepted. We are trying to learn Rust, so don't expect our solution to be the cleanest one. If you know better ways of doing stuff, please tell us. Thank you for the chat. People were in chat a lot today. And are we going to rate somebody?
Yes, we are raiding Coding with Luke, which I think is doing something interesting in Go. So maybe it's a good follow-up from this session.
Cool. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Bye.